Hi, today I've chosen to do a very quick little ink and wash drawing. The reason being, I think it's very good practice for beginners, both for the drawing skills and for getting used to watercolour. A lot of beginners are very daunted by drawing in ink because obviously you can't erase it, but also very daunted by watercolour, and I think this is a really good way, just doing little quick ink and wash drawings, paintings, to learn both those techniques really. So when you're drawing with ink, if you do make a mistake, don't worry about it, carry on. Don't make the mistake of trying to correct it, because then you'll end up with a much darker area and you sort of draw attention to the mistake that you've made. So you can see on the wheel there, I've got a bit of a wonky wheel to begin with, but I don't really try correcting it too much. I just draw another line and forget the one that was wrong, because if you keep going over it and trying to hide it, that makes it more obvious. The other thing is, when you're beginning with ink drawing, don't worry about doing a few pencil guidelines if you want to begin with, because you can just rub those out. Make sure you've got a water-fast or pen as well. That's very important. So look for one that says water resistant, not just waterproof, water resistant, so that you can put your watercolour on it straight away after you've done your drawing. So with this little drawing, I'm doing putting the detail on the little building that I'm going to be doing, and then everything else is quite loose. So, but the good thing about doing your drawing first with a dark black pen like this is you can put your shadows in. So you've already got your darker shadows, you've already got your contrast between your lights and your darks. So when you're putting the washes on, you can just keep them very simple and loose, just to add a dash of colour really, and you've already got those shadows there. So I'm going to carry on and do this drawing, and you'll see that I don't do a lot of detail towards the edge of the paper. I'm going to leave a lot of white paper around the outside, making it a bit like a little illustration really. And it's something I think you could practice with. It doesn't have to be with a little building, it could be with anything really, but just to keep practicing your drawing, making you look at your drawing. And like I say, because you've got that sort of framework really to work to, once you've finished your drawing, it becomes much fun and more relaxing putting on the watercolours. So I actually use, you'll see I've written down all the colours that I've used on the video, so you'll see which colours I'm using, but there were actually mostly ones that were left in my palette from another day, so just adding a little touch of colour. And it was mostly done wet on dry, which is the term we give in watercolour to when we're painting onto a dry paper. The only bit that I did wet on wet, you will see when it comes to putting the paint on, was the sky and the little stream, just to give a bit of more of a feel of the water in the stream, and also to give us a bit of a cloudy sky feeling. And the way I've done that, you'll see it, I've just wet the paper around the little shed, leaving the rest of the paper dry, just the sky area wet. And then I've just dropped the blue colours in, but not all over, and then that just leaves it, as it moves out into the water that's already on the paper, it leaves those little touches of clouds and things. And this all comes with practice. So I'm just trying to think about anything else to tell you. The other thing really is, you'll notice that I use quite a big brush. I didn't want to get bogged down in detail. We've put some detail in with the pen, we don't need to start putting detail in as well with the colour. So use some nice big brushes and get used to, you know, putting some quite big washes over the top, and not using too many colours, just keeping it nice and loose. And I worked very quickly, so the paint, even though I was painting wet on dry to begin with, as I was adding more colour on top, it was still damp, the paint was still damp, so it merged in quite nicely. You'll see things like on the little shed roof, the colours blended in together, and on the stream. The stream was just drying up a little bit when I came to put some of the shadows in later on, so you'll see I just softened the edge off with a damp brush. When you do that, it must be just a damp brush, not a wet brush. You introduce more water onto the dry paint that's already on the paper, that's when you end up with the making a mess. So just a very damp brush. So get some water on your brush, and then either flick it off or scrape it on the side of your water pot or whatever, but it should not be really wet. Don't be introducing loads more water onto your paper at that stage. Okay, so the paper I used was £140 not pressed by Daler Rowney in the pad, and I used 2 brushes, a size 6 and a size 10, both synthetic brushes, and the pen that I'm using is, just let me think, it's a Pitt pen and it's a fine one. So again, water fast and light fast, and a nice dark black to get those dark shadows in. So I'll let you carry on and watch the rest of the video. I hope you find it useful. If you've any more questions regarding beginners painting and drawing, just pop them in the comments below. I'll put a link on here to the one I did on Monday, which was using these pens also. You might find that interesting, and I will go in another day into more detail about using cross hatching and, you know, for building up shadows and things on your ink drawings, and drawing with pens in general, because I do like drawing with pens, but we'll do that another day. So I just thought a good little practice for you. This picture actually was done from a photograph that I found on Pixabay. I've mentioned it to you before, but Pixabay is a great website for getting copyright free photographs. You mustn't just use people's photographs without the permission. If you did come to exhibit them or sell them in the future, you would be infringing copyright laws using somebody else's works to without the permission, somebody else's photograph. So if you go on Pixabay, there's thousands of really nice high quality photographs, all copyright free. So if you use that, you know you've got confidence there that you're not infringing anybody's copyright, and there's some really lovely pictures. So I'll put the link again in the description below for that website. Again, I'm just trying to think if there's something I haven't told you that I was intending telling you. I don't think so. So yeah, have a go. Obviously don't feel you need to do a little building, do anything. Yeah, draw a little flower. Like I say, put some pencil guidelines in if you're not confident with your pen. Don't overwork it with your pen. Keep the detail quite loose, and if you do make mistakes, just carry on and go on to the next part of the picture. Don't keep going over it and making it darker and darker. But the other thing is, if you do make a dark spot and you think it looks wrong, balance it by going dark somewhere else in the painting as well, in the picture. That can sometimes help to correct things with ink. The other thing with ink is, if you really do make a big mistake, you can correct it by putting either white acrylic over it or a white ink or something like that, just to hide it over. And whilst we're talking about white, actually, that's one thing I didn't say to you. You'll notice I leave quite a lot of white paper. That gives us both some highlights and just a nice gentle feel to the picture. It's not it's not a very detailed picture, and obviously I've done it very quickly, so it's not that accomplished, but it's just a pretty pleasant little picture to look at with those few nice colours. Okay, so enjoy that. Let me know how you get on, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.